This is Suzanne Etienne again with part 3 of habits that help reduce pollution. So, this is all about lawn care. We know that lawns make up a pretty big area, one of the largest land covers in the United States. They're responsible for a whole lot of water, fertilizer, pesticides, and also gallons of gas from mowers and trimmers and other lawn implements, but lawns aren't all bad. A sustainable lawn is a small lawn. Um, we're going to talk a little bit about how to maintain lawns so that they reduce some of the harmful chemicals that we often use on our lawns. And um, there are three basic types of homeowners that you might find in your community as it relates to lawn. Those that do it themselves, the do-it-yourselfers, they're the ones out there beginning of March, spreading the weed and feed and meticulously caring for their lawn. You might have what I call don't it yourselfers, those people that just don't do very much at all to their lawns. And then the third type of homeowner you might have in your community is the let the lawn care companies do it. So it's important to understand if you've got a lot of turf grass in your community, what type of homeowners you mostly have in your community. So, different lawns need different things, but one thing to stress is that however our lawns look, we want them to have a dense cover of plants. So, that monochromatic green grass is just as bad as a lawn that has bare spots and dirt. And so both highly maintained turf, that is fertilized and pesticided out the yin yang, is just as bad as turf grass that doesn't have a dense cover of grass or other plants. So there's basically 5 steps to reducing harmful chemicals on your lawn. We're going to go through these. Um, the first is to choose the right type of grass, and there's basically 3 types of grass that are used in the Mid-Atlantic area. You might have tall fescue. This is for sunny areas. It's a bunching type of grass. It's called tall fescue. It's a cool season grass. So it's really nice and green through the fall and sometimes in the winter and spring, but might brown out a little bit in the summertime. You might also see fine fescue. That's often in shadier areas, and it's just got a finer blade to it, but it's also a cool season grass, so it's happiest when it's a little cooler outside. And then some of our grass is zoysia grass, which is a Bermuda type grass. It's a warm season grass and it spreads by rhizomes. And it's the kind of grass that is green when it's growing or it's totally brown when it's dormant. But there's a lot of variety within those basically the 3 types. So the University of Maryland and also Virginia Tech have done a lot of studies on the specific varieties that grow best in the Mid-Atlantic. Our region is really notorious for being very difficult to grow turf grass, and there are some special varieties or cultivars that grow better in this area. And we've got some links on our, links to explore where you can actually go on and figure out what varieties might grow best. And you can't get them at Home Depot. You've got to actually go to a specialty place or to order those seeds. Some of our farm supply stores might be able to stock them for you. But if you're having trouble growing grass in your lawn, you might just take a look to see if there's a cultivar or a different type of grass that would grow a little bit better for your specific site conditions. Of course, there are some places where turf just doesn't want to grow. Um, in shady areas, it's really difficult to get grass to grow. Under trees, trees suck up a lot of the water. They also provide shade. If you've got really sandy soil, it can be often difficult for grass to grow, and then on steep slopes as well. So, in those areas, if you have a lot of those areas, you might just consider not battling with turf grass and trying to plant some native plants or other alternatives in their place. Okay, the next part of growing maintaining a healthy lawn is mowing height. So the mowing heights that are recommended are listed here, and you want to make sure that you're mowing your grass high enough. It creates greater traffic tolerance. So if you've got kids running around on your grass, it will be better if your grass is a little higher. It promotes deeper root growth, and it helps conserve water in the summer. This slide shows sort of what you don't see below the ground. And you can see on the left-hand side the grass blades that are trimmed very short. They've got rather short or shallow roots. Those grasses that are trimmed a little bit higher, you can just see how much more extensive those roots reach, and that allows the plant to access more water and more nutrients and be overall more healthy. It also promotes greater infiltration on the lawn by breaking up the soil and allowing little micro areas for water to seep down in when it rains. So that mowing height is really important. There have been lots of studies done on the effects of mowing height, and here's a 1 inch mow versus a 4 inch mow in the summertime, and you can see just how much greener and more lush that longer grass is, and there's no difference in fertilizing here and no difference in water. It's just mowing height. So that can make a big difference on a lawn. You also want, if you can, to uh, grass cycle. So leave your clippings on your lawn. That allows the nutrients to stay in place, and it can provide up to 30% of the recommended uh, nutrient needs for your grass. It is recommended by Maryland Department of Agriculture to fertilize to maintain a dense stand of grass, but I always encourage people to just see what your grass needs. There was a new fertilizer law that went into effect in 2010 that put some sidebars around what people are allowed to do and not do in terms of fertilizing on their property, but a lot of people who have been taking care of their lawns and fertilizing their whole lives have no idea that this law exists. But it includes a number of things. Soil testing, always a good idea to adjust the pH. We want to keep fertilizer off of hard surfaces and not within 15 feet of the waterway. That seems like a no-brainer, but they did mention it. We don't want to fertilize if heavy rain is in the forecast or if there's frozen ground. And particularly, no fertilizer is supposed to be applied between November 15th and March 1st. So, um, if people are fertilizing in that time in your community, that's a big no-no. And then there's also a prescription on the rate of fertilizer, how much you can apply. Um, and one of the unintended consequences of this law is that we're not allowed to spread compost as a fertilizer. The reason for that is that compost also contains phosphorus, which is banned in lawn fertilizers. And the reason that it's banned in lawn fertilizers is that most lawns have plenty of phosphorus. That's not a nutrient that's missing. It's really nitrogen that um, most turf grass needs in terms of nitrogen. Of course, you don't have to fertilize. If you do fertilize, you want to fertilize in the fall and follow these directions. Um, so I said fertilize in the fall, and um, come spring, people really want to get out there with their weed and feed, and they're dying to fertilize their grass to get that nice green growth going, and that is problematic because in the spring, when you fertilize, you're grass, that the plant is actually putting all of its energy into creating leaves, to creating the green growth above the grass. And in the spring, if you have a large amount of new green growth, when it comes to summertime, those blades have not been hardened by the winter. So they're young and they're fresh and they're tender and they're really susceptible to summer stress. So they can be subject to fungus and drought and other stressors. Whereas if you fertilize in the fall, the energy of the plant is going into the roots. So some leaves, grass does grow, but really much of that fertilizer goes to developing the roots, which creates, again, protection against drought. It allows the grass to access more nutrients. It creates better infiltration and decompaction. So, fertilizing in the spring, don't do it. If you must fertilize, fertilize in the fall. Want to point out a really helpful resource, the Home and Garden Information Center. There are so many publications here on any problem you could have on your lawn or yard. So I encourage you to check out this website. Particularly, they have a little section on soil testing and how to read a soil test, what to look for, and labs where you can get your soil tested. This is just a little key to fertilizer. Again, this is put out by the Maryland Department of Agriculture to help educate people about the new fertilizer law. This does not mean you have to fertilize your grass, but if you do, those are the recommended rates. Watering. So, because most of our grass is really a cool season grass here in the Mid-Atlantic, it that grass is supposed to go dormant in the summertime, so it's not necessary to water. But if you do water your grass, you want to water it no more than an inch a week. You want to water it no more than once a week, deeply, and but you don't want to create puddles or runoff. So it's a really good idea to water your lawn carefully. Um, so last part about lawns is minimizing pest problems. What do you do when you have pests? And the best thing that you can do for your lawn if you're having pest problems, whether that be uh, fungus, parasites, insects, is just to create healthy turf. So don't grow turf where turf is not wanted. Correct your soil problems. Make sure you're planting the right kinds of grass. Increase your mowing heights. And then, of course, consider integrated pest management. And you can find a lot more about integrated pest management on the Home and Garden Information Center website. Last, I also want to point out the Organic Materials Review Institute, which does list organic pesticides or other products that can be used in place of some of those chemicals that we normally use on our lawns.